Hey, Don's fans, I am here with Athletic Director Joan McDermott. And now that the athletic season is kind of coming to an end, we've had a lot of success, especially through a very tough pandemic. And also we have some new coaching hires. So Joan, thanks so much for catching up with me. I really appreciate you being here.
Katie, thank you for having me. There's a lot to catch up on, and I'm happy to talk to you.
So Joan, let's start with this. Your staff created a comprehensive plan for a safe return to participation in accordance and collaboration with all city, state, NCAA, and university guidelines. And after months of exhaustive research and planning, the court approved it. So tell me about this plan and your staff behind it.
Honestly, it started last June. Linda and I working with our campus partners on putting a plan together, just really honestly starting for our basketball players to be able to practice in July and August. So we put this plan together. We secretly got the Warriors plan. We even more secretly got the Lakers plan and put it together, sent it to the city. Between Linda, myself, Mike London, and facilities, we went through it, really knocked it around, and they approved it for us to practice. We knew the next part of the plan was to put together a plan to be able to continue practicing in the fall and, most importantly, play games. With Santa Clara, Stanford, 49ers, they could play. They just couldn't compete in county. So we were under the impression that we could compete out of county. We just didn't have permission to play games here. So the public health department was saying, no, you can't play anywhere. So I didn't tell Todd. I didn't tell Molly. Of course, Charlie knew. I didn't sleep much. So between Frank, myself, Linda Lappy, Mark Papadopoulos, reworked the plan, resent it in, and they said, no, here's the Warriors plan. You need to follow this plan. So then I had to tell Todd, because we're like 2 days before we're supposed to play Long Beach here. So then he and I got on the phone with the Warriors and said, how did you get your plan approved? We were on the phone with the vice president of community relations. She was fantastic. So she told us some key people to talk to. And then some very dear friends of our university got us to the chief of staff in the mayor's office. So between all of that, we were able to have it approved within 48 hours. And like the night before, we were to host Long Beach State here. And honestly, it was a very detailed plan that we had to follow for both basketball teams. It meant we tested every day. It meant our bus drivers need to be tested. We had to follow a very detailed plan in terms of how we traveled. And it was all completely just like the Warriors. And thank goodness for our donors, our season ticket holders. They all really stepped up to help us make this happen, because obviously budgets were tight, big time crunch. One of the things that's very confusing for people is, for example, in our conference, BYU, they're in Utah. Gonzaga is in Washington. Their rules, guidelines, restrictions are very different than California. And then within California, it's much different by the county. So we follow San Francisco County, who's very strict. And actually, I appreciate everything they've done, because you can see how it's been, not only for USF athletics, but for the entire community. Our staff, our student athletes were resilient. They were selfless. I mean, it's incredible. Again, the only individuals downstairs that could go in the training room, strength and conditioning, were the two basketball teams. The other teams had to be upstairs. So we set up 2 separate training rooms. We set up 2 separate weight rooms, one of which was outside. What everyone has done to make this happen has been unbelievable dedication. But the joy it's brought to our student athletes it's beyond describable. You know, it's priceless. And for them all to be able to compete, it's been really great.
So, since you began at USF, you have done an exceptional job hiring new coaches. One is retiring, another one is taking a job that's closer to family, but both created a tremendous culture. And from a competitive standpoint, Joan, the programs are in really good shape.
They really are. So let's first talk about Frank Labricia with volleyball. So yes, he is retiring. This is actually his second retirement. So he was at Regis University in Denver for about 30 years, and he retired after the fall season in 2016. That was my first year here at USF. We had a very rough season in volleyball, to put it mildly. Young coach, a lot of new players because a lot of kids had transferred. During that spring of 2017, our head coach left to go be an assistant. It was a great move for her. We needed a new coach. Scott gave me full go and trusted that I would get things done the right way. And honestly, it was just this, it just came in my head one day. I was actually at a high school baseball game with my son, and I'm like, why don't I see what Frank's doing? Maybe he would come out of retirement. It's a Jesuit school, just like Regis. He very much believes in the mission. He'd be a great fit. We need somebody very experienced, somebody that is highly respected, very knowledgeable, and calm and patient, because I knew where we were. We were in last place, and it was going to take a while to get them out of there, honestly. So called Frank. He's like, oh, I'm in the middle of painting my house. I don't know. If you know Frank, you would laugh. Anyways, he thought about it. He called me back a couple of days later. He said, I've talked to my wife. I really am interested. And I said, Frank, even if you could come a year, 2 years, we would love to have you. You could make a difference. And it's been so satisfying to see what's happened with that program. We went from last place to this spring, 4th place. And the 3 teams above us all got in the NCAA tournament. So back in this last fall, Frank said, Joan, I've got somebody new on our staff you're gonna love. He is unbelievable. He knows more than me about the game. So most Sundays I'd go over for maybe a half hour and watch, and you'd be like, watch him. He's designed practice. He's running it. And he was. That's Diogo. That's who we hired. And of course, I evaluated through the season during our volleyball matches just to see his demeanor, how he handled the student athletes, and I continued to stop in practice when I could. He's got unbelievable high-level experience and knowledge. He played internationally. He has contacts all over the world. He is highly, highly respected. He has a great demeanor with our student athletes. And I believe they're going to continue to move forward.
And, now we are starting that search for a new head men's soccer coach. Just tell me about, what are the key things that you're looking for to replace Leonard?
First of all, let me just speak on Leonard. We appreciate everything he did for us. He did a great job in his 2 years with us. And he, it was a very tough decision for him. I think in his heart, he really didn't want to go. But his wife is from Arizona. They have 2 small children. They'd be around the family. They'd be around grandparents. He made that choice. It was not easy. We love him and we'll always appreciate what he did for us, and left a very good team. So very quickly it got out that, Leonard was leaving, of course, because there was a release by Grand Canyon and then by us. And so for the last week and a half, it's been nonstop talking to potential candidates. The job just actually was posted yesterday. So all those conversations were unofficial. We hope to have a coach named in a week. So actually by next Tuesday, Wednesday, we have some fantastic candidates in there. I do know quite a few people in the men's soccer world, including the head men's coach at Stanford. We've known each other for 20 years. I trust his opinion. So we've gone back and forth. Some of our alumni have been great to talk to as well. So we feel really good about where that search is going. And the reason why, well, a couple reasons. You always want to go as fast as you can, but not so fast you don't find the right person. But secondly, it's a little different right now because of the transfer portal. As you know, Katie, the transfer portal came in place a year ago. But just a month ago, it was decided by the NCAA, all student athletes can transfer and play right away. So if they come in to our compliance office and say, I want to put my name in the transfer portal, we have to. And we have 48 hours to do that. So, and that's always a worry, especially with coaching changes, that you may lose some student athletes in the middle during the process, where it's a little unsettling because it's scary for them. And certainly we have some very top players in men's soccer that a lot of schools would love to have. So we're excited about where it's going. I believe strongly that we're going to hire a very, very good coach. I've talked to the team multiple times because part of my philosophy is I do like to involve them in the process. It gives them ownership. I always tell them they're not going to pick the head coach, but I do want their feedback. And it gives me an opportunity to really understand what they need, where the program is, and making sure it's the right fit. So that's where we're heading. Stay tuned to who we hire.
Well, Joan, I mean, you have just done a terrific job. As a staff member, I am very proud to say that I am part of USF Athletics. Our teams were amazing this year, even through this pandemic. And I look forward to talking to you in the next couple of weeks about the new construction that's going on. So I guess we'll stay tuned for that as well.
Thanks, Katie. I really appreciate you taking the time to allow me to catch up and get the word out on what's going on. I look forward to getting together again with you.